Hey everyone, today is our Instagram live and I am flying solo. As a lot of you know, Miwa's mom has been in the process of passing away and she died this morning. So Miwa called me and said, you got to do it by yourself. And I said, great. Fenix might jump on if she gets back, but at any rate, I'm gonna send Miwa a golden sun to support her today. And I'm going to talk about Valentine's Day, the morning after, or deconstruct, high expectations, loneliness, modern romance. And if you guys have questions, shoot them out because I will answer as we go. And some background on me. For those of you who don't know, we joke around that I'm the love psychic at the BPI. I do a lot of relationship coaching and I have a lot of experience with relationships. I am polyamorous. I'm bisexual. I've been with my husband for 19 years. Is anyone counting? So shoot your questions at me about romance, Valentine's Day, expectations, polyamory, any of it, and I can answer it over the next half an hour today when we're together. But I think the first place I'd love to start is the high expectation piece. And that is something I see all the time. And it's tough because we've been kind of fed into a lie is too strong of a word, but our current model of how we're shaping relationships is very new and I think pretty flawed, meaning we didn't used to get married for love. That's new, like within the last couple of generations. We got married because you couldn't not be married. You needed to have a wife, to have the kids. You needed to live. You couldn't just live with your parents if you were a woman. So we started introducing this idea of like, oh, we're going to be in love with each other and we're going to be best friends and we're going to be soulmates. And marriage is just like now under all that pressure. So what do? Do you go back to marriage as just a business arrangement? Yes and no. I think my bold statement on that is I think relationships that lead to marriage should be a business arrangement and compatible as friends, like we genuinely like each other first. That's your base. And then you build the romance on top of that. And because what happens is in new relationships, you get what's called new relationship energy or NRE, and you're gaga, and you're basically high. And then people build the relationship on top of that. Like, oh, we're so in love. Let's build a life on top of this feeling. And that gets a little willy-nilly. If you listen at a wedding to people's vows, sometimes they're like, that's a lot. You guys are asking a lot of each other. But so that is something we wanted to go over today is expectations and how that's affecting your relationships all across the board. And Valentine's Day is like the pinnacle of like letdown energy. I mean, if like, even I know this, and yesterday I had this moment where I was like, my husband didn't leave me anything for Valentine's Day. He's out of the country. And then I was like, oh yeah, we don't really do Valentine's Day. I do it for my kids. But I got sucked into like, wanting something. Because that's like contagious. You go to the store and it's nuts in there. But people, when you're single, Valentine's Day hits like a ton of bricks. Like either you're cynical about it or you're really sad. It just brings out, oh, I'm single, I'm sad. And that's lame because that's, the store being filled with flowers all in one big day feels like a trap to me. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about expectations, and then I kind of want to go into loneliness and the cure for a lot of things, which is friendship and community. And I kind of want to touch base on the energy of romance as well, like from a psychic perspective, what I think about that. Because romance is interesting to think about. Like, what is that? And that's also a little bit new, how we've kind of narrowed romance to only be between two romantic partners who are headed for a committed relationship, guaranteed to sign a mortgage and have 2 babies. They get to have romance. But to circle back, expectations, Miwa will sometimes call that a violent energy because it is so destructive. But I think it's a little unfair to just say, oh, you shouldn't have any expectations. Like, well, then what? What do I do? Does that mean I just like let my partner live their best life and I just adjust to them? Or what does that mean to not have expectations? So I've written about this a lot, and I'll take a second to define what is an expectation, which is a bummer, and what are clear agreements, which is a good thing. Expectations are usually unspoken, or really big and vague. Like, I promise to make you happy. Or if you're expecting, like, my partner should make me happy. My partner should fulfill me. You should always provide for me. Big, sweeping things that in reality, another human most likely can't always fill that bill. Like, they might get sick. They might not be able to pay all the bills, or they may, not be doing their own self-care and let you down in the relationship and not make you happy. And so it's easy to have expectations and not really even know it. And a good exercise is to get a piece of paper and a pencil and actually like write out, I expect my partner to. And it may surprise you. You know, this is like stream of consciousness. What do I expect my partner to do? And have I ever spoken those words out loud? Do I put that in my dating profile? Do I speak that at a first date? And chances are, like, probably not. And they're usually kind of rooted in a little bit of dysfunction, meaning there's an unhealed part of you that you're hoping that person can heal. Or maybe you're trying to heal that unhealed part of them instead of you. So there's this little, like, unproductive loop that starts to happen. So expectations are usually not spoken out loud. They're vague. They're huge. And they're unconscious. It's not something you've consciously thought through. It's stemming usually from a little bit of hurt and lack and a need that you haven't met. So exercise, pencil, paper, I expect my partner to, and just start writing. And then you may go, oh my gosh. So what's the antidote to that? Okay, clear agreements. Clear agreements are spoken out loud. I agree to X, Y, and Z. You know, whether that's making money, whether that's having babies, whether that's bringing romance or excitement to the relationship. You know, you can bring this back to Valentine's Day of like, oh, I agree to be playful and fun as much as I can. Agreements are crystal clear and they're attainable. They're not huge. They're not sweeping that requires superhuman strength on you or your partner. And fewer are kind of better. I mean, I think it's fun so agreements that I bring to my partner, Bree, who I'm not married to, are like, I agree to bring a lot of playfulness and fun. I agree to a ton of flexibility since we're both married and I have kids. I agree that like, hey, we're going to be flexible. And I agree to clear communication. So those are like my loose 3 agreements. And that's not a lot, you know, because I can't tie myself to a million agreements. And agreements are organic, meaning you revisit them, you tweak them, you communicate them, and it's like a living agreement between another person. And that is going to set people up for more success. So Valentine's Day, there's a lot of, you know, like, oh, I thought my person would do this. I thought they would surprise me with this thing, and they didn't. And that's okay. If you're disappointed, if you're let down, if it made you blue, I don't want to beat you up on top of that. It's kind of fun to like think, well, yeah, I do want my partner to do something for me on Valentine's Day. Okay, have you communicated that? What do you want them to do? Is it realistic? And after like year after year, will it still feel the same if it's the same thing? Because a lot of men, like if you tell them I want flowers and I want dinner, they're going to do the same thing every year. And then you're like, oh, this isn't interesting anymore. But it's okay if you want to know, if you know that about yourself, that I wanted something from you today and I didn't get it. How can we set ourselves up for success in the future, for birthdays, for every holiday, for summers, for vacations, all of it, knowing, hey, what do I actually want? So that's my 2 cents on expectations versus agreements, and how Valentine's Day can definitely set you up to shiny, bright, uncomfortable light in your face of like, oh, I wanted something and didn't get it. But another thing I want to talk about today is romance. Romance is super interesting. Romance in a new relationship is easy to think like define, like, oh, they called me, they texted me, they gave me compliments, a gift, we went out to dinner. That's easy peasy. Like that's not rocket science, but like that's again in that new relationship energy where you're like, yeah, it's like a drug though. You're like high, kind of literally. But what are the other ways that you can experience romance? Does it only belong to new relationships and then you just get to experience it for a little and then it's gone? Is it realistic to have romance year after year, decade after decade? And what I think is romance is this energy that is very steeped in mystery and novelty and your 5 senses. Actually, we have more than 5 senses. We have like 9, I think, which is another day. But so your 5 senses is like, okay, that's how I meet the world. And that's how I experience pleasure too. Smell, looking at something beautiful, tasting something amazing, feeling touch on my skin, which can happen, not just sex, being in nature, being in a state of balance, hot, cold, that's another sense that's interesting. So romance is I'm engaged in all of those senses. I'm meeting the world in this pleasurable way. And there's kind of this mystery of like, I don't really know where this feeling is like coming almost from an etheric place. There's novelty, there's newness. Think about when you taste something new or feel something new. That's exciting. That's romantic. It's engaging to your brain. It's novel. And you can experience that in a million ways that don't necessarily rely on a partner. I will circle back because a pet peeve of mine right now, especially considering how lonely people are right now, is saying like, oh, try and get all your needs met for yourself. I find that pretty eye-rolling and pretty deflating when people say that, like, oh, well, write a love letter to yourself. Take yourself out on a date. Yeah, sure, do that, yes. And we're wired for connection, but if you don't have a romantic partner, can you do that with a friend? Can you do that with a group of people? How can you get engaged with that feeling of romance where like my senses are being lit up in this really pleasurable way? I'm allowing myself to feel that pleasure. I'm not getting triggered with feelings of guilt or shame, which if you have a female body, most of us have to do the work of like, wait, I'm allowed to feel this. I don't have to instantly feel afraid or ashamed. Because those of us who grew up in a religious world, we started to equate pleasure with like, oh, no, you can't do that. And, that's another thing that's new is women being able to experience pleasure, being in a world in the United States or in, this part of the world, we have more liberties as a female person. It may not always feel like it, but there's plenty of places in the world where like, no, you're not that safe. And you can't just go take on lovers. That's not going to work out. So being able to receive that pleasure you're getting from your 5 senses and be able to also then like tap into the mysterious element, which is another word for spiritual, the world beyond those 5 senses of like, where does that come from? That feeling of mystical magic and intrigue and I'm able to fall in love with the people I'm with, and with this moment, and with this scene, and this food, and this restaurant, and maybe even the clothes I'm wearing. That's a really fun thing to think about, is how can you practice bringing romance into a situation that's not a partnered situation. Because I'm guessing there's a lot of people here that are single. Oh, hearts, cute. This is like, I'm like talking into nothing. I'm used to like having to interrupt me off. So if you're, because I'm guessing a lot of you are single, and, people that are single are like, I don't want to be single. And that makes sense. I get it. We're, like I said, we're wired for connection. So if you are single, or maybe you're in a partnership and the romance part has kind of fizzled, bringing that back, you don't necessarily have to bring it with your partner. I mean, can you have like friendships that take on a romantic element, take on an element of, let's do romantic things together. Let's write love letters to strangers. Let's write a romance novel together. Let's go on hikes. Let's get in touch with the mystery of love itself, of bringing that into your fourth chakra, and expressing it through your fifth chakra of speaking love, and expressing it through your third chakra, which is doing things. So I'm a huge believer in friendship, as starting to look at friendships as primary relationships. And that doesn't necessarily mean you buy houses and move in together, but right now we have romantic love up here. And we have like every other type of relationship way down here. Only this is like, we're putting a lot of pressure on a marriage, on a partnership, of what it should be. And there's all kinds of data that say marriages are way more successful when each person has plenty of friends. And the reason for that is then they have other people to listen to them having a bad day, or encourage, other parts of themselves that they can express with that person, and they're not looking to their partner for everything. It also helps with the mystery element and the novel element of like, if your partner and you are processing everything together every day, all the time, and you live together and sometimes even work together, there's no more novelty or mystery or intrigue, and it just starts to get so routine. Whereas when you can take space and allow your partner to take space in other friendships, in travel, in letting them have experience romance outside of you, of like, I'm engaging in my five senses in this other way. That doesn't necessarily mean non-monogamy, but just that they're able to be a little free outside of you, and same with you. That can really spark some new mystery between the two of you when you have a life outside of each other. And that's something that happens a lot in polyamory, is you get to have space assuming it's done right and healthy. It's rewarding. Your partner can come back kind of renewed and wide-eyed and like, I went on this little adventure. I went on a date with someone. It was weird. It didn't work out, but whatever. I did that. I experienced that, or I was able to experience another side of myself. And it's cool to see them have that. And it's cool for you to have that. And you don't have to be polyamorous to do that. So those are my thoughts on kind of the psychic part, the spiritual aspect of romance, of how can I engage my senses. And I'm a big, yes, you can take yourself on a date, and you can do all this on your own. My 2 cents is, do it with someone else. Do it with a friend. It doesn't have to be a boyfriend or girlfriend or partner. Find a group of friends that you could talk about this with and go, I want to experience romance. How do we do that as friends? Do we go to an art gallery dressed up and then go to dinner? Or what does that look like? There's this saying I like that's, we should all treat our lovers more like friends and our friends more like lovers. My girlfriend says that to me, and I like it. And to me, what that means is you think about how you treat like your best friend. You cut them tons of slack. You know, if they're busy and don't call you for a couple weeks, you're not mad at them. You're like, oh, hey, you know, and you're always together. Like I have friendships that will be together forever and ever. Long, you know, marriages, divorces, kids will be hanging out 30 years from now. And that's really special. And am I showing them enough care? I think I could do more. You know, I should send them a love letter, you know, gifts and spend quality time. And, you know, we get busy and we neglect our friends. And then the part of treating your, you know, your lover more like your friend, cutting them slack, giving them space, that's really healthy. Let's see, I'm scrolling for questions. Oh yeah, here's another one I want to touch base on, which is love languages. And I'm sure you've all seen the memes or read the book, and you know, there's several different types, whether it's words of affirmation or touch or quality time, gifts. And the one thing that I would say is that usually the gifts, like what you like to give out and what you like to receive, can be totally different. So I love to give gifts. I love giving people gifts, which is tricky because gifts can make people nervous. I've learned that the hard way. I've like totally overdone it, where I like hand someone something, I'm like, oh, too much. It's weird now. But I don't really like to receive gifts because I'm a minimalist. I don't like stuff. And the jewelry is like, no. I'm going to pick up my own stuff. Like, don't get me things. Don't get me a sweater, you know? So when I talk about that with Bree, she's always very, very verbally sweet to me. And that I really appreciate, or spending time with me. And touch is one that's way up there with me versus like stuff. So it's really good to know that about yourself and practice it. Not just practice it with a romantic partner, but practice it with your friends, with your family, of giving your love languages and being vocal about what you like in return. Because that's, with Valentine's Day, that's I think where people miss the mark, is they haven't expressed, oh, this is an important thing. I want to be recognized on Valentine's Day, and here's how I want to be recognized. Or just owning if you're like, no, this isn't a big deal. And that comes down to communication. Of, did you guys communicate that with each other when you were forming the relationship? You know, and that goes back to the agreements. What do we like to do for holidays? What do we like to do for birthdays? Do we celebrate those? I shower Bree with gifts and I blow her birthday off every year. And I relate to my husband slightly different. I cook for him and cook him lots of special meals, and but we've never been super into gifts. And it's fun to think about when you're going into your second or third decade with a partner, how do you bring that romance? With any luck, like I said at the beginning, you've built your relationship. The foundation of your relationship this is a business agreement and a compatible friendship first. And I know that sounds really unromantic, but if you have that solid structure of, oh yeah, we're doing the business of life together and we're clear and we're getting our needs met and each one of us feels safe in terms of like the money, the house, the chores, all the boring stuff, when that foundation is solid and you're friends, you like genuinely like each other, then that creates a more safe container and a container for that romance to exist in, versus if it's the other way around where we're building our relationship on romance, which that is like building your relationship on a bender. Like you went out drinking and smoking all night, you're like trying to build a life on top of that. Like NRE, new relationship energy, is fleeting. So, but that doesn't mean you can never bring it back in. You bring it in different ways. But that foundation has to be solid. Otherwise, like, it's gonna be pretty hard to bring romance in if you have deep resentments about chores. So I wouldn't beat yourself up if your Valentine's Day was unromantic, if you're having some struggles in your relationship. Like, well, okay, go back to your foundation, get that solid. then try and bring in that novelty, mystery, engaging with the five senses. Can you bring that in a new way? Which, another way to bring novelty into a relationship, especially if it's past 10 years, I think the first 10 years is kind of like, woohoo! And then after that, it's like, oh, we have to kind of apply ourselves now. Is in the beginning, that first 10 years or less, you're facing each other. You're enmeshing, you're doing all that business, that work of building the business of life, and the babies, the family, the house, all that stuff. So you're very enmeshed. And as time goes on, if you can kind of move like this, where you're standing side by side, looking out on your, I call it, like with my husband and I, I'm like, we are the king and queen of our empire, together hand in hand. And we fill our empire with, I always call myself King 3, by the way. So it's king and king. And we're looking out onto our empire, and empire is huge. And it's our home, it's our business, it's our future businesses, it's our kids, it's our friends, it's travel, it's how we relate to the world. And we're doing that side by side now versus like gazing into each other's eyes in a super intense, enmeshed way. And that brings novelty. That brings a different kind of romance. It brings a deep connection of like, oh yeah, we've built, this is our world, and a lot of people are in it. But it allows us each to have a little more autonomy. So that's another way to bring novelty, is to switch from enmeshment to side by side. Some people fall apart in that transition. But if you're aware of it, of like, oh, we're switching, then you can make clear agreements of what does this look like? What does this phase look like? So, I'm trying to stay on track here. Miwa's job is always to keep me from rambling. Miwa rambles. I'm teasing. Loneliness, I want to speak to that because that's a big deal right now. I'm listening to all this stuff saying there's a loneliness epidemic. I feel like I hear that on the 6 or 8 podcasts I listen to every morning to get the news and outlook on the world. I'm hearing loneliness epidemic every day, every other day. And then it's like so unhealthy. And it's like having no friends is worse than like smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I feel like I heard that one, which sounds a little like, give me a break. But it's a problem. And the way out of that's a 3rd chakra solution. So you cannot think your way out of loneliness. You cannot speak your way out of loneliness. You have to get out there, move your body. It's also very much a 1st chakra need. We think of our 1st chakras as food, water, shelter, but another major piece of your 1st chakra is your place in the pack. And you don't know that until you're engaging with the other humans. So we're in this weird time of, oh, I can like live alone, work remote, have food delivered to my front door. I can get my clothes online. Like we can now like barely leave our house. I don't support that. So if you are feeling lonely, you have to get your body out the door, and and that can be tough. That can be like, oh, I'm out of practice. I have social anxiety. So I don't speak lightly to that. Like, right, that's your healing journey. And part of that is just good old fashioned practice of go to a meetup, join a club, join a group of people with the intent of friendship and companionship, and finding your tribe, your group, and finding how you like to be in that group. And that shifts and changes, and it's not always one aspect. So a personal example is, I'm in a phase of life where my role in the pack is, I have a few roles. One is what I call the hostess. I hold space, I create events, and I invite people in, and I am the host. I'm a container holder. I also love coaching. And I love coaching in big and small ways. So I get, I go to the gym, I kickbox, and I don't have time to actually coach. But if I can just pull a newbie to the side and like help them out in that moment, I'm suddenly high as a kite, and I'm like vibing in, I'm playing my role. I'm micro coaching that person. And that took me years to identify about myself of like, years ago, I would have told you I was a leader. Nah, that's too much work. Now I love to create space and micro coach. I also coach one-on-one in my private practice with the BPI. Like I said, I'm the love psychic, so I do a lot of relationship coaching. But I wouldn't know that if I wasn't in the group. So if you're lonely, I feel I've been there, especially in your 20s. That's a tough time. That's like, when I think back to my 20s, was a lot of loneliness of just kind of like, I don't have my person. I don't necessarily have my people. And the way out is through your third chakra. Your third chakra is what you do, how you use your body. It's like, do it. Don't meditate about it. Go do it. So those are my main talking points for today. I won't keep you guys for too long unless anyone has some questions. Valentine's Day, when Mia and I were chatting this morning, and both of her kiddo fell apart over the school Valentine's Day party. The expert, he didn't understand it. He lost his Valentine's. So he was crying. My kids, we were making cookies, and I totally overdid it and made these like fancy cookies that stressed us all out. And then I ended up getting mad. It's just such a disaster. And it was so funny because it was like, oh my gosh, I'm talking about this, and yet here I am like having like kind of a weird Valentine's Day. So Valentine's Day, I don't know what it is. There's some kind of curse on it that like, it's so easy to fall into the trap of like, I wanted it to be this, it wasn't, now I'm pissed. But if there's anything I want you to walk away with today, it's to watch out for expectations versus agreements. Do you know if you have expectations? Do you know what your agreements are? And you can practice those agreements with friends, with anybody in your life. You speak them out loud. They're realistic. They're doable, of what you want to agree to that friendship and what you want to ask in return. And that will be good practice for a future partnership. And those are always good to bring in and talk about and tune up and refresh throughout the relationship. Second takeaway that I want you to leave with is is to examine what romance means to you, and that interesting relationship with your senses and the mystery of what love is, and bringing that into your body and into your relationships and into your friends. Sure, in your romantic relationship or on your own, but I'm saying try doing that with friends. And what is that like? Because friends last forever. Those are solid relationships that are worth a lot. They're very valuable, and it's easy to take our friends for granted a little bit. And that pleasure that you're experiencing, see what comes up. See if like, oh, look at that. I'm kind of not allowing myself to have that pleasure, or I feel a little guilty about it. Can I experience this pleasure fully in my body without programming telling me I shouldn't have that? Know your love languages. What do you like to do? What do you like to receive? What do you like to give? And verbalize those at the beginning of a relationship. And then lastly, the piece of community is an essential first chakra need, meaning it's part of your most basic human need is to have community and to belong and to know your place and to practice that. And you do that that's a third chakra event, is getting yourself in a gym, in a meetup, in a group, a spiritual organization. And if you can't find it, build it. Get two people and say, let's build a group. So I hope that you guys had a good Valentine's Day, or maybe are set up for a better one next year. And if there are not any last minute questions, I may say goodbye because I think I've told you guys enough of my world philosophy. Oh, wait, I have announcements. I always forget that part. March 1st, we're going to do a pop-up class, Miwa and I, on trauma. And it's free, and you can sign up through our newsletter, which if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, go to our website, boulderpsychicinstitute.org, and scroll all the way down. Sign up for our newsletter. That way you can stay in the know about all of our events and classes. And I write the Saturday newsletter, which I usually give you a little nugget of wisdom, if I could be so bold. And so March 1st, we're doing a free 1 hour pop-up, which we usually do question and answer afterwards. Oh, Fenix is here. And hello, Fenix. Let me know if you want to jump in. Otherwise, I might say goodbye. We want to hear your 2 cents, Fenix. So the other announcement is March 5th, Self-Healing 101 starts, and that's a great class. You should take that. It's 4 weeks. First week is free, so you can check us out. And, oh, look at this. I couldn't just talk by myself this whole time. I think this always takes me a minute. Hello, Fenix.
Hello.
I talked for a straight 30 minutes. You missed so much good material. I was like, I'm gonna
have to go back.
Tired of it. Yeah. I can't wait to put you on the spot. Are you ready?
Ready.
How was your Valentine's Day?
My
Truth.
My Valentine's Day was super chill. I sent love notes to all of my good friends.
You're psychic. That's what I just spent 30 minutes talking about. It was like, love your friends. Love your friends.
I sent each of my good friends a little gif of a rose that was like unique to them and just like a little thing that I appreciated about them.
Wait a second. My phone has a total of nothing on it. I'm just... That's great.
Yeah. How was your Valentine's Day?
Oh, are you still here with us? Oh no, Phoenix froze up. Phoenix, come back. Aww. My Valentine's Day was good. I had a dinner for my friends on the weekend. I don't know if you can hear me. And then I did stuff with the kids. We had some drama over cookies. I filled my house with balloons and flowers. That was fun. Oh no, Phoenix, you're frozen. You should leave and come back. We'll give her a second. Does anyone have questions? Or does anyone want to tell me about their Valentine's Day? I think so, okay. Oh, that was, we're getting teased, you guys. That's another way to bring in novelty and mystery. Oh, there you are.
We're getting teased. That was funny.
Oh, you can hear me.
I like that.
Oh.
Another in novelty. I love that.
That's like the key to being a good lover is you got to build suspense.
Can't give it all right away. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I won't bore everybody by going over everything I went over, but do you have anything you want to add about the day, Valentine's Day? What do you think about it? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Yeah, like how does it, because I haven't been single in 19 years, so I kind of forgot a little. I remember what it was like on Valentine's Day to be like, I mean, have you had those kind of Valentines, or do you just like, no, this day can F right out?
Well, I'm currently single. For most of my life, I have not been single, but I'm currently single, which I'm very excited about for me and my own growth. And, you know, I do, and you probably talked about this, but I do see that there can be a lot of that pressure and expectation on Valentine's Day if you're single or if you're in a relationship, right? I was seeing some funny memes go around on the internet yesterday that was talking about oh, I like a meme that would say like, oh, I feel bad for the couple that just got together at the end of January.
Oh, right. Because it's
Because it's just like, ah, all that pressure to then do something big on Valentine's Day. You know, I see it as similar to kind of how I view my birthday. Um,
mm,
because similar way with my birthday, there can be all this pressure and expectation for the day to like be something.
mm-hmm.
And I've just over the years kind of just cleared that away to the point where I'm just like, well, I'm just going to have the day that's right for me. Maybe
Mm.
maybe one year it's going to be some elaborate thing. Cool. It wasn't for me yesterday, you know. That wasn't my truth. But
I love it. It's not in my truth to have anyone showing up on like a white horse or elephant or
um but over the years, right, it's just like, well, what's my day, instead of it being a day about fulfilling everybody else's society's expectations for this day. How do I want to celebrate this day that's true for me? And you know, I kind of take what I like and leave what doesn't. So like, I love the emphasis on love, even though I would say that most people, society in general, does not really understand what love is. But like, that this idea of like, let's celebrate
yeah,
relationships. Like, I like that.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take that.
Love is an action. It's like it's an ability. It's not this thing that you're just waiting that like, oh, someone's going to come and just deliver this to me, and I don't get to experience it until I get that person delivering love to me. You know, I think that's the lie of modern romance.
Right. And then what you're talking about, it's like essentially most of us are conditioned to relate to love through like, I'm a victim. I have to go out there, get it from somewhere else. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have to wait around, like you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, like for it to be given to me. Yeah, I mean, I have I've really had to decondition myself with regards to love, because I feel like growing up, a lot of what I was socialized is that, you know, love, like for a while when I was younger, I really couldn't tell the difference between abuse and love.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, those were a little commingled for me. And then control, right? Like I was
Mm-hmm.
also kind of taught that love, like if someone wants to control you, like that means that they love you, and that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
um, but it really took me a while, and I'm still learning that love is actually about space. It's about,
Mm-hmm.
can I give myself, can I give this other person space to be exactly as they are?
Right. While balancing into that relationship, because a relationship is different than love. You can bring love into a relationship,
Yeah.
but the relationship is a project. It's a business arrangement, and that's the piece I see people not always getting. Ooh, you know what I want to ask you? Remember when we did that class on dating?
Yeah.
And we were kind of trying to deconstruct the soulmate thing of like dating for, I'm trying to date to meet my soulmate, and that's this heavy vibe, like shit. And dating to just like, what if you just date for some fun for a while? Like, what if you take a break from the whole soulmate thing and date to have a good time? You know, I think 6 months is a good period of just like take a break and date, but still date for fun. And you were out there doing that. So like, how's that going? I feel like you would be like snapping up people. I mean, you're cute. I feel like you, like if you were like, hey, I'm dating in a chill vibe, I feel like you would be like 100 people are like, me, please. I will be next.
Thank you, Three. That's very sweet. I love the fire emojis that are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
know,
I'm putting you on the spot. Let's deconstruct your dating life.
getting super vulnerable. The hot takes. Phoenix's dating life. Yeah. You know, I did go on, I think that class was in the spring. And so then in the summer, I did go on a few dates. And to be honest, it was super triggering. It was like really juicy and triggering. And I remember during that course, Miwa was equating going out and dating as to like showing up to practica, which is what we offer here.
Like it was a practice.
Yeah.
You were like practicing. Yeah.
Offer here for our students, which any of the students know, right? Like, especially before you get into the rhythm of coming to practica, it's a little intimidating at first. It's like, oh, what's going to happen? And I definitely had that. And yeah, I remember the first date that I went on, I got really triggered and and then kind of had to backpedal because I agreed to a second date because a program came up in my space that was like, oh yeah, just agree because you can't, you know, speak your truth in this moment. And then then I had to backpedal and text this man who's very gracious and understanding later, like, hey, this stuff came up for me and I actually don't want to go on a second date. Hey, and that ended really well.
Yeah. That's good. I was just about to ask you, was it a man or a woman? Like, what was the gender? Because there's some people, like, I definitely have a tougher time with female-bodied people where I'm like, oh, whatever you would like. Why would I ever question that? Whereas with a man, I'm like, beat it.
For me, it's kind of the opposite because I have some good, just like, I don't feel safe around men programming. And so, it was very gendered kind of conditioning of like, oh yeah, let me just fawn here, you know, kind of like a trauma response, right? And so that was very enlightening, and I really enjoyed getting to see that about myself, right? Because I'm not gonna like learn unless I kind of continue to put myself out there. And then since then, I've had a few other opportunities to really practice. Something that we learned in the course was stating your dating intention. And some people were just like, what? It didn't register for them. And I was like, great.
But we had the caveat. I'm going to interrupt you. We had the caveat of like, your intention cannot be to get married. Like it had to be like, I'm dating for fun. I'm dating to go on hikes. I'm dating to have sex. I'm dating to play. I'm dating to learn how to communicate better. Like that, remember that. Like you had to like say like, I'm dating for this reason. And that's like vulnerable.
It is. It is really vulnerable. And this is the first time I've ever tried doing something like that in dating, or anytime I've ever kind of brought consciousness to even choosing. Like before, my dating life was always like, I'm just going to fall into this thing now, you know? It was never like, oh, I'm consciously choosing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, my dating intention, and it's still at this phase, it hasn't moved, but is to date to have fun, just to date, like just to go on dates. And I'm particularly interested in dating also with people that I can like go on hikes with and like both enjoy yummy food. And so, you know, one of my kind of non-negotiables is like, if you're vegan, it's not going to work out because I'm not vegan. And I want to be able to share food together. And so,
hard boundary laid down, everybody.
You know, no hate to the vegans. You do you over there, you know, but like, but yeah. And so the last few months, I'm actually happy that we're talking about this because I just really haven't been putting as much energy towards that focus in my life because I've been putting my energy towards other things like my home situation and work. And so now that the kind of spring is coming, I'm feeling the renewal dating to put more energy into that. So we'll see what happens. Stay tuned.
I'm going on a blind date pretty soon, which I haven't done that in 25 years. Like blind, like I've seen their face and that's it. I'm excited because I just want to have fun, and my main thing is someone who's close by and is like tons of friendship chemistry and laughter and fun. And if there's flirting, great. But we'll have to report back.
Yes. How did the blind date get set up?
This is funny. So I'm going to be real with you all. I was on a website of ill repute. like just a salty website that's like for one purpose only. Okay. And somewhere in there, and I mean, like, I keep a very, very anonymous profile on this place. I psychically, and the only times that, because I don't date, I don't do the online thing, like F that. Unless you just like what you're doing, like, oh, I just want to go on some dates.
Yeah.
But like trying to meet somebody, I'm like, oh, no. But however, I have been occasionally able to just like pick someone out using like, oh, that person. And all I know is like for like almost nothing. But I was just watching the energy and I was like, ooh, that's weird. We like each other. We are really compatible. And then there was like a local thing. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be at this thing. Do you want to go? Because I thought, well, that'd be like a, chill way to meet. And then they said, yeah, I guess I should show you my face. I'm gonna let you piece together the details here. But then I was like, oh yeah, we totally would vibe. So that's like, I know their first name, their face, that they live in Boulder. And then we started chatting and we're like, oh, that's weird. So I haven't done one of these in forever, which I'm fully prepared for it to be like, but also I have a pretty good sense of like, oh, this is definitely friendship chemistry. So we'll see. Although you know what I want to do is set people, that's another side gig I'm going to start, is I want to be a matchmaker.
Yes.
I would love that so much. And I'd be so good at it. And
I can see that.
Yeah. Like, and I would like, you wouldn't get to say, I'd be like, no, just, I will do this. You got to move back, and then I'll be on the prowl.
I know.
I'll host an event. I'm a hostess. I'll host an event, and I'll be like, you have to pass a physical challenge, a mental challenge. I'll make them like fight each other, and then I'll present you with the winner. You'll be like, I like that one over there. No.
This is my mock-up. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I love that. When I come visit Boulder next, I would love to be set up with some dates.
Yeah, we'll go on a double date. So worst case scenario, you and I will just have a good time.
That sounds really fun, actually. Yeah. I love that. I've actually never been on a double date. Have you ever been on a double date?
Kids these days. What are you talking about? Yeah, all the time.
All the time. Well, I guess you're married, so yeah, that makes sense.
It's hard to find couple friends where all four people kind of vibe, because usually there's one person that's the oddball that you're like, oh, did you want to say words tonight? It's really fun when that's a skill to find, like, and again, we're back to friendship, where everybody vibes.
Yeah, friendship is such a big part of any relationship, no matter where it goes from there. Yeah, I feel like in my generation, or at least my experience in dating, is that, and this is also why dating with consciousness, like that I'm doing now, is kind of uncomfortable and so different, is because, at least from my experience, people in my generation, you don't like, or maybe just the kind of people I hang out with, you don't like go on formal dates. It's just like, it's kind of more this just like, let's hang out. Like right? And it's like not as, and when I look at the energy of that, and I looked at how I used to do this in my past, I'm like, oh, it's just like lack of communication. It's kind of just like unconsciousness, right? It's just sort of like, it's not super clear. And then that kind of just sets you up for not really a strong foundation, you know? This
blind date, I gave him 3 options. There's, we get a cup of coffee and walk down Pearl Street. So like in and out in under 30 minutes. Easy exit. Okay. And option 2, we meet for drinks, 2 drink, and then boom.
2 drink.
Option 3, full blown, I take you on a date. We're all in. And then he was like, let's go with 2.
I love that.
It's great. I'm like, wait, what if I get hungry? But Yeah, I did that because when I first came out and I started dating a lot after not dating for 10 years, and I was dating women and dating queers, and which was like a whole new bag of chips.
Yeah.
I would get so nervous when I first arrived that I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. Like my all-time personal worst was I walked in and like I shook her hand. Like, and I was like, dude, what? And then I like did a full circle around the table because somehow I got disoriented of how to sit in the chair. And then the chair tipped over with my bag and coat. And I sat down and just went, hey. Because I was just like, that was terrible. So now I'm like, hey, when we meet, are you a hugger? Do you want to smooch right away? Do you want a high five? Because I'm doing that to protect both of us, so that I don't do one of these again. Like, oh, yeah, words.
That communication. It's like when I'm hearing you say that about how you do that, I mean, my response to my body is like, oh, that just makes my body feel safe. Like that's just such a nice way to start to create safety together, because relationships are about like people kind of are navigating like, am I safe, like sometimes people are in that dynamic and that dance together, and so it's like what helps, at least in my experience, come out of that and start to really create that container so you can be more vulnerable is like to communicate. And of course, first that starts with you being in communication with yourself first, and being able to do that with another.
Yeah. So we have 3 more minutes till we get kicked out of here. But I know I made announcements. I'll do them again. We've got I'm growing my hair out, and do we like this? I'm still like, should I cut it all off? We've got March 1st free pop-up class on trauma. Sign up for our newsletter so you can get the information and sign up for it. And then March 5th is Self-Healing 101, which is a great class, and the first week is free. So you can check it out. You can check box 1, just a cup of coffee, and see if you like our vibe. I talked to me this morning, and she's like, yeah, write things down so you don't ramble 3. And I was like, dude, you ramble.
I always tell students, I'm like, the tools that you learn in Self-Healing 101, like even just like the first class, but like the whole month, I use every day. Like it's like the foundation of everything. Like I just love how it's just like you get it right there, first class.
Yes. Yes. So this was fun, everybody. Thanks for listening to my lecture and then listening to Fenix and I banter. We are going on a double date.
I love that.
I will find a date for you. I'll find a couple.
Yay!
I'll find like I'll make it a game show. Let's play that out.
You're like contestant A, contestant B, contestant C. Well, I'll tell you my non-negotiables. They're very simple, and there's only 3, and so I'll text you those so you know them.
Perfect. All right. And happy loving, everybody.
Happy loving.
Go out and be with your friends.
Give love to yourself.
Romance. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And we will see you soon. Don't forget to do our newsletter, and we've got our free class and our Self-Healing 101. And Miwa should be back in the rhythm soon. So, yeah.
Thanks for being here, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.